I know of no other couple that have spent their entire career in one school corporation, in one community. This doesn't happen.
How many band directors stay in one high school that many years?
I want you to live forever underneath the sky so blue.
Looking back on my childhood, my mom had a vision to involve me in the arts, which I didn't get at the time. And so somewhere in there she said, get in the car, we're going to the movie. And we went to see The Music Man. I think it must have been 1964, 65. And it had been a Broadway musical, and that was a movie. And we went to the movie and I fell in love with it. She bought me the album. I know it was a vinyl album, and I know I wore it out. I fell in love with the whole band thing, and the trombone in particular, to the point where I know when the guy came the next school year, the guy came around with the song flute to recruit everybody to be in band. I basically said, I don't need to hear your speech. I'm in, and I don't need to come to your recruiting session to pick out an instrument because I'm playing trombone. You know, she's responsible for getting me interested in all that. My father passed away early on in my freshman year of high school, and so band was the only thing I was doing outside of going home, and I didn't have any brothers or sisters, so it was just me and my mom. But at the same time then, the St. Joe College, which was a big part of our community, had a new band director, and right away this new St. Joe College band director started hanging around the band room.
The relationship between Bob Medworth and myself started way back in 1968. I was at St. Joe College trying to build a band program. Bob was a high school student at Rensselaer High School, a very fine tuba player, electric bass player. And his father passed away at a very young age, and we sort of latched on to me, almost a little bit like a father figure, and as I brought him in to play tuba in my band at St. Joe. And we just, over those, 3-4 years, we got to be very close, and it became like a son to me.
At Rensselaer, when it came time to go to college, you either went to Purdue or IU. And if you didn't go to Purdue or IU, you were a failure of some sort. My friends were going to IU, I chose IU, and I got in, and I was going to be a business major, and I didn't know why. I thought I might go back and help Mom run the family business, but I really didn't know what I was going to do. Gary had gone to Indiana State, was the band director, and at some point the phone rang in my dorm room at IU, and he said, what are you doing? And I said, I'm sitting in my dorm room. And he goes, no, you idiot, what are you doing with your life?
I kind of felt like, he had the material to be a great band director. So I called him on the phone, and I said, Bob, what are you doing? He says, well, I'm here at IU getting ready to start school. And I told him, look, I think you need to be a band director.
You need to come see Indiana State. And I said, I don't have a car. And he actually mailed me the money to rent a car.
And you get up here to ISU and we'll get you in school and get your degree in music ed. So he called his mom and said, Mom, Gary wants me to come to ISU and major in music. And I guess she agreed to it. So he got a car and rented it.
I couldn't rent the car, though I wasn't old enough. I had to talk someone else in the dorm to pay to go rent the car in his name. And we drove up to Terre Haute, and he took me around campus, and
we got him in school, and he became a music major.
And was determined to be a great band director.
It was after an evening where the band and Sparkette members had gone to the Beer Stew. It was a place where they went every Thursday night.
We loved it there because they had great cheese, these big cheese wheels, and Bob and I would go there, well, some of the other students too, and talk about, planning shows for the future.
And some of the girls said, let's go. I hadn't really been there. So we went in and ordered a cheese plate and, got some food and then we ate and we left.
Some of the Sparkettes walked in one day and I saw Ruth Ann, and jokingly I says, that's the one, you need to meet her. I think that'd be a perfect match for you. It was Ruth Ann.
We got out in the parking lot and we said, oh, I don't think we paid. Then at the next rehearsal, Mrs. Markle called out our names and said that we needed to pay Bob Medworth. So that was really the first time that I met him because he had covered the bill for us.
Well, it turned out he ended up, somewhere along the line, he ended up meeting her and asking her out and all that. So I kind of felt like I was an integral part of that development and that relationship.
Well, I'm sure Gary would, only Gary would. I think Mrs. Markle would take credit for it too.
Remember, there were two jobs open. One was Rochester and one was Brazil.
Bob had just graduated and we were dating and he was applying for the job. There was another job that he had applied for, but when he got there, the correct person to interview him wasn't there. So it's like, okay, well, I guess I'm not doing that job. And so then when this one came up, he came in for the interview and I sat out in the parking lot.
And the principal basically said, okay, we don't have a band director and we don't have a color guard director. If we hire you as a band director, do you know someone? I said, yeah, she's out in the car waiting for me right now. That's a done deal.
Then he got hired and the story goes that he told them about me. So they said, okay, you've got the job.
I think that's probably how I got the job more than anything. They wanted to make sure as a band director I wasn't going to burn the room down, but they also wanted a good color guard person.
When we first started, of course, we were young and a lot of people say a lot more gung-ho and more strict than we are now. They think that we're just a bunch of old pushovers these days. And luckily we had some success right off the bat, so that gave us some backing in our methods, which might, in this day and age, might not be quite as sugar-coated as they are now.
Back then, times are different. There was a lot of yelling and screaming went on. And the kids were all great kids. Kids are the same everywhere. They hadn't been required to come to rehearsal, which was the first obstacle that I had to cross.
It wasn't really starting from ground zero because they were really talented. And so, but it was to maintain that. And when you're brand new to a program, I'm sure they were, trying to test us any way they could.
And I think I don't know if it was true or not, but I felt like the older kids in the program believed that the older they were, the less they had to come to rehearsal. And they were allowed to miss for work and other activities. And we all know how that went over with me. So there were some struggles. But the year before I came to town, I think they were 14th at state finals. And our first year, we were 3rd. So that bought me a little time to learn how to teach and try to develop a band. Our 5th year of teaching, we won. And that was pretty great.
I probably just lucked on to that. We used a song that was popular at the time, late in the evening, and being from Brazil and having some costumes that were different, and it was just a lot of fun. And I think it's just one of those, as over all the years, we know that some shows have a little bit of an it factor to it, and maybe others, you hope they have an it, and they don't. So we were just lucky with that group of students and that particular music that we were successful that year.
I can't even remember what the opener was. We've been trying to figure that out. But the middle of the show was based on the Paul Simon tune, Late in the Evening, and we did the whole dance thing and the maracas and all that bit, and the girls had costumes. And
a big color change and surprising. And so the crowd would go crazy. The crowd loved it,
When I came to town, they told me, we're only going to need you for 2 or 3 years because we're consolidating into Cumberland Trails High School and your job will be eliminated. And I said, fine, I don't plan on staying in Brazil the rest of my life. And then that plan went south, and then there were other plans, and then finally the school board came up with the idea of consolidating without building anything, which was how it got passed through.
The consolidation, of course, took several years for that to happen, and so we weren't really sure how that was going to go, and if Bob would be the band director, or how that would all turn out. And luckily, as it did, we got to be a part of that. And of course, we have a lot of great friends from Staunton and Van Buren, students that were a part of that first year. But anytime there's a consolidation, everybody has their own traditions and all the things that they really like about their school. And I don't blame them. I come from a really small school that hated the big guy next door. So I understand that, and we were very thankful that some stuck by the program, some didn't want to, and so there was rough times.
And we had no money, and we had no uniforms. We had nothing, and the 3 bands came together, and there were some kids bought in, and some other kids were skeptical, and we were just trying to make it work. And the parents set up a slave shop in the old Brazil High School downtown and basically made a set of uniforms, pants and jackets and everything, in 3 weeks. And we went to that parade in St. Louis and won first place and a $5,000 cash prize. And that was the biggest deal ever, that the new consolidation, and everybody was real excited that the kids had proven that we could all get along and we didn't need to be fighting about anything. And
we were really lucky. We went to the Veiled Prophet Parade and had great success, won it, and the town was really excited that this was the start for the Northview High School to have hopefully a good band program.
The very first year of Northview, the color guard was the very first spring of Northview High School. Color guard was state champions in open class, which was now world class. Yeah, they beat Center Grove, Greenwood, everybody. That was a big deal.
First year, 1985, Hey Mickey show. Just really fortunate Bill Patterson was one of the instructors, and I was cheerleading sponsor at Indiana State, so we incorporated some of those kind of tumbling and climbing type of moves into it. And Bill was a cheerleader and a weapon, and so all those combinations kind of put that together, and a really special set of girls that were in that group, and we were pretty good, and we won the state finals, and we ended up 3rd at WGI. I thought my whole life would change because my mother and Bob's mom were stay-at-home moms that raised the kids, and so I was like, oh my gosh, how's this going to happen? And then it's like, well, okay, I don't guess anything really has to change. And so then we just took her everywhere we went, and we were lucky enough that there were a lot of great band boosters and friends and students that helped raise Whitney, and so she just came here all the time because neither one of us are from here. So we didn't have any family here immediately, so she didn't have any choice but to come to practice.
The old semi used to be set up, it had different little box shelves in there, and the Jeeber brothers and I think one of our most common games we'd play was we use it as a pizza delivery service. I don't know if you remember, but the semi had a long ramp that went down it, and we would take our bikes and ride up the ramp, fill up our imaginary backpacks full of pizza, and then ride back down the ramp and deliver them out. Who knows where? Yeah, I mean, that was my home playground, stuff like the semi.
Some of her greatest friends happened out on the parking lot playing in the semi or playing some kind of crazy band games or marching around pretending they were in the band. And so she just came along, and I think that's why she loves it today.
Yeah, I don't know anything different than this. That's all I know. I grew up in it. I lived in it my whole life. I don't know what my life would be without it. It's all I've ever known. People talk about their childhood, and my childhood is the Northview Band.
Well, she was born on Wednesday, and she came to practice on Friday. So we left the hospital. I was happy to stay. I actually stayed in the hospital a couple of days, so I was actually happy to stay. But we came back, and we went. They were at practice, and so we just went in and took her in. I think that's one of those original pictures where all the girls are gathered around her.
I think it is. It's like every family tradition for me. People can talk about things that their family maybe do at holidays or do for birthdays or whatever, but every tradition that I've ever had has something to do with the band and the Winter Guard. State finals is our biggest day of the year. Winter Guard trips are our family trips. Like everything that people experience with the band and guard is my whole family tradition.
The first championship at Northview was 91, 10 years after the Brazil championship. And we'd gone through a little period there where we were beginning to second guess ourselves that maybe we were never going to get Northview to the level we wanted to get it. And it was our fault, and that was becoming a little stressful. And then I honestly don't know who said Les Mis. I don't know how the idea came up, but it did, and Ray Baumgart was writing the music, and we put a show together. And at that time we had Charlie Gumbert was helping with the color guard, and we had a few fateful nights where we were standing out the football field here on this property, and Charlie just said, no, we got to change the middle of the show to this. And that's when we put the big fabric star in, and somewhere in there Matt Jenkins and everybody was involved, and someone in there said, okay, we got to rewrite this music and just make it a trumpet solo with B.J. Levy, which everybody now would say, you hadn't already thought of that? You had the best trumpet player in the world and you hadn't thought about giving him a solo? No, we hadn't, but we did. And then Les Mis was so, the music's so great, everybody loved it. And for years, the first contest of the year had always been against Greenwood, and it was usually at Carmel, and we usually got whomped every year. And that year I said, enough, we're going anywhere but where Greenwood goes. And so we went to Hamilton Southeastern, and now as big as Hamilton Southeastern was, it was just a little Class C school in the cornfield. Anyway, we won, and then we won the next week, and then we won the next week, and then it became momentum and a snowball going downhill. And we won every contest, and I think we pretty much won state finals going away easily that year. So that was the first, 91. And then we got on a little streak. 92 we were second, 93 we won, 94 we won. We're very fortunate to have, I don't know how many world championships total involved in our staff that they've won with other drum corps and winter guards. And it's all just, it's evolved in a lot of ways. And I guess it started with me going to Star of Indiana, being involved with the drum corps. Then I became friends with John Vanderkoff and Pat Butler, and that's how, and we met Charlie Gumbert through WGI, we met Ray Baumgart through all those things.
I remember getting a call from Ruth Ann. I was living in Boston at the time. This is the early 90s. And probably it was a connection through Star of Indiana maybe with Bob. I don't know, but I got a call out of the blue to come work with their winter guard in the middle of the season because things weren't going well. And that ended up being the Jack and Diane year. And it just started from there, really. It was me beginning my career. And, but I don't remember, I don't remember when the first time I met them. It just seems like I've always known them. It's been so long now that they are just my family. You know, like there's not one specific thing. I know in Star 93, I worked with Bob, but it was Bob, you know, and Ruth Ann was just there, you know, it was just, yeah.
You know, we made the decision that if we really wanted this band and guard to be as good as it needed to be, we needed really good designers. And so we started bringing in those people, and it's expensive, and we would be nowhere without all the finances that the band boosters provide, but now we've got one of the best staffs in the country here in the cornfields of Clay County.
We put a lot of creative energy into Northview because, look at the people that I was surrounded with. Like, they were amazing people, and this is where we put our energy. And Bob and Ruth Ann created the environment, and it just happened.
1996 was the first year of John Vanderkoff and Billy Gerberg, and the whole process of some of the things that we all believe were the forerunner to Blast and all those great shows that they've done. And we were glad and happy to be their experimentation group. There's just so much on all that creative things that part of it, the whole Michael Townsend era that has gone on now for 15 years, and his creative mind. So there's just so many great shows and great moments, and a lot of sad moments too, because they don't all turn out like you hope they will.
But we were so invested, and they were good. Like, they were just so good. And it became not consciously a thing, but the environment they allowed. Ruth Ann was one of those people that never says no, and Bob, they never say no to this. So you always feel like anything's open, and you want to establish them, and you want to be great for them. So you just started experimenting. Well, what else could this be? What else could we do in Winter Guard? Or what else can we do in band? And we hit on some really cool things that had a lot of success and were different than anything else going on in the activity. And I think from that, it led into, because it's just a creative process. Even though, you go, it's Winter Guard, or it's marching band, or it's a Broadway show, or something like that, and you go, oh, you have to approach them different. You don't. It all comes from your mind, or your group's mind, and the group's process and stuff like that. So there was some of those ideas that led directly into what became Blast.
And as times have gone on, these are great friends that have bought into the Northview mystique, that they know this is a world-class program and they want to be a part of it. And so we've just been fortunate that people want to work with this program. We've also been very fortunate that the band boosters and the parents have wanted to support that financially to make this happen. And I think that's just one of the other ways that we've been able to give the kids an opportunity that some might not ever have. Like, if they were in a great big school, they might have that opportunity, but we don't think our kids should be denied these great instructors if we can make it happen.
When we came up with these huge prop ideas, and he would always go, well, Madonna can do it at halftime, so we can figure this out.
I don't know, it's just been fun. It's been a challenge the whole time, and just a lot of great memories.
Once we moved out here, then right away, Jerry Morgan was the choir director, and we tried to make the first few Christmas concerts a bigger deal, and they were actually combined choir and band concerts. I still don't know how we did that, but that was without tearing up seats. We just did it on stage somehow. And then that it just evolved a little bit, and then Pete Kickter came along, and we talked about making it a bigger deal and adding more performances and combining the choir and band and making it more of a variety show. And then that just kept growing, and we all have that fatal flaw in our personality that if there's something bigger that can be done, let's try to do it. And we fell in love with Radio City show. We had a Lily Grant, Pete and I, and we went out and watched that Christmas show, and then decided we could try to do something like that at Northview.
We just, as it changed, and we tried to make it more of a production, and then certainly have a great role model in looking at the Rockettes for ideas that we can use. So we just wanted to make it an all variety show that everybody there would be something for everybody and the spectators that wanted to see it. So we just added dances.
The whole thing being backstage for me and making sure everything happens is a blast. People wonder where I am, I think, but being backstage and making sure all the acts are ready to go and making sure the technology happens and all the lights and the curtains, that's fun.
The Christmas Spectacular has been a lot of fun. I think it gives the students a little bit different outlet, that it's not competition, because there are so many things that we do are competition based, and because those things are take up more time. Sometimes we can't do basketball games like we used to and do halftime shows and short dances. So this gives the students an opportunity to do something that's not competition based, but can just have fun and be entertainment based, and do it for the love of performance and the love of the audience liking what it is they do.
A lot of band directors think pep band's a bad thing, and Gary Smith at Indiana State taught me that pep band was supposed to be fun and that you had a purpose. Well, you had a number of purposes, one of which though was to support the team and create an atmosphere at the game for the fans, the opposing fans, the spectators, the team, everybody, that a band's part of it. And then at the same time, the kids in the band are supposed to have fun, playing their horns, you know. And some people turn their nose up at pep band and say, I'm not wasting my time teaching kids to play Louie Louie. Well, yeah, I know, but they're playing their horn and they're having fun. Every year there's a number of opposing coaches or other principals or fans come over from the visiting teams, and they always start off the conversation, we hate coming here because of you, because we love you. And we love the band and everything, and we get a lot of compliments like that, which makes it fun.
I've always felt that, and Bob has too, that the band gives the kids an opportunity to do things that they might not ever get to do. And so we've always travel, of course, for any band is an important part of that program. And so I just think we really had some opportunities because of the WGI situation. We could just stay here with our own, the things that we know right here in the Midwest. Or what a great opportunity for the students to get to go somewhere where they maybe would never get to go again or have never been. So that's why I think was part of the reason why we tried to go different places. Or we also wanted to go compete against different guards and see what they're doing. And I think it was really some good exchanges between different cultures, different parts of the United States, different landscape. And so I think we've been really lucky that the kids wanted to do that, and then we got to take them places to broaden their horizons.
Being in band wasn't ever a question for me. I came from a community where the band was awesome, and so that's what you did. So much of what shaped who I am today. It helped me become the person that I am. I feel like it's helped me in my career, and even in like being a parent, being a friend, all the things that I feel like I exude today, I learned from having that foundation as I was growing up in those years that are really important. I just got to see how hard work could pay off, and how if you put belief in a person, even if sometimes you don't know what the end product is, the people will always rise to the occasion, because if you put that kind of belief in people, that's the kind of work that they do.
It's hard work. Like, you can't get anywhere without hard work. If I've never seen my parents really take a break. I've never seen them slow down. I've never seen them do anything halfway. I wish that I was half as energetic and hardworking as they are, because they literally never stop. You know, you may not have all the tools, you may not be the smartest person in the room, you may not be the quickest, you may not be the best player or the best spinner, but hard work is all it's ever been. That's all that's ever mattered.
And I saw the time and the effort and the worry and concern, and the way that Bob and Ruth Ann would both go out of their way for kids and never do it for attention. They would do it in a private way, and they never did it to get acknowledgement, but they always just did it because that's what you did, and we were a family and we supported one another.
I'm such in awe of the two of them and what they have established, not just the band, but that whole community. And I know it's not easy, and I just look at what is created at Northview, and first I don't know how they do it, but then I do. Then I do, because they are relentless. They are absolutely relentless. And now they're getting ready to retire, and this past season, it's the same energy that they put out the very first time I worked with them. It's unbelievable. So it's inspiring to me.
And there are still times today when I'm in my job and things get difficult, that I think back to the lessons that I learned going through that program. And I mean, I would never tell Bob this to his face, but he really made a difference, such a difference in my life, such a meaningful difference.
You ask all the kids in the Brazil community, how many hundreds that have been through that band. Kids don't go on to be professional musicians or professional dancers, you know, in the Guard and all these things. But these two people that molded and helped the kids of that community because they cared, and they spent their lifetime, they spent their teaching lifetime, you know, in doing this. And people will, the people that have graduated will look back at that and see they taught me more than just music. They taught me more than just dancing or Guard. They taught me how to be a human being and how to live my life in a genuine, caring way, as they gave that example and that role model.
You know, my favorite moments are when we have success, like at state finals, and just standing back and watching Bob. And watching Bob watch the kids when they have that success. Like, that's the stuff, that's the inspiring stuff where you know it's just so honest. You know, his motivations match with, I don't know, everything just lines up. And I know that they feel about this every single year, even when things aren't successful. But when they work that hard, and it's hard to win. It's super hard to win. And when that all happens and all connects, and I'm sitting there going, how great for Bob and Ruth Ann, and Bob and Ruth Ann are going, how great for these kids. That's the stuff I remember. That's the stuff that inspires me. You know, that level of honesty and compassion, and my God, they just love their job.
In the final 2 years as this has wound down, the challenges that they've had to overcome as a smaller school with less resources, and it had been so long since we'd won a state championship, and you know, the Winter Guard hadn't been in finals for several years, and it almost felt like sort of the end of an era that was gonna, you know, fade out. And then in 2015 or 2016, we won a state championship. And this year the Guard was, you know, 11th in the world, and it was just like, I thought, a really nice way to wrap up for them and to show that they could still do it, you know.
When they've put their lifetime in there, you don't see this. I know of no other couple, and I worked in schools since '65, I know of no other couple that have spent their entire career in one school corporation, in one community. This doesn't happen, but they put their life into that.
What this community has experienced is a once-in-a-lifetime thing. I don't know that something like this, I know that things like this don't come around often. What they built and the support they've got from the community, and how it's just turned into an entire program of several generations now. I mean, they're seeing grandkids come back, and so I don't think that these things don't happen often, and to try and replace it or recreate it, I think is impossible to do. And I think their legacy will live on forever as what it was, and the community will forever be better for it. You know, literally with the brand new beautiful building, you know, the house that Bob built, if you want to call it that, but it will never be forgotten, the impact they've had on the community and everyone in it.
Brazil, Indiana is a small town, and but how many people know of them and know of what they are and what they do and what they stand for and how they go about things? And I think a lot of people that directly or indirectly use it as a role model. I noticed that, but have I ever seen anything like them and what is created here? No, I really haven't.
And so I just thank them for being dear friends, and especially of how they treated every kid that walked into their classrooms with genuine respect and love. They really did that for kids. I know other teachers do it, but when you spend a lifetime doing it, so God bless them.
As these days have approached, you start to think about it more, and it's very obvious that every night when you go home, usually every night when you go home, you wish you hadn't said you were retiring. And then you wake up in the morning and realize all the stuff you have to do, and you go, okay, that wasn't a bad decision. But the good rehearsal, nothing beats a good rehearsal. It just might be third hour band, it might be fourth hour band, it might just be, or you go home from a pep band game and you know the band sounded great and had fun and the kids were good, or you come home from a winter guard or drumline contest or marching contest. I think that I'll miss a lot. Saturday nights in the fall, 1 a.m. still being awake, looking at the recap, being proud that you just put in an 18-hour day. I'll miss that.